Hey, Jacob here. I'm here to talk about the delusions I used to have and um, what it was like. I said a prayer that slanders Satan's name. I said F Satan, F his demons, and Amen. And after that, I met Satan, who was a red guy with a bald head, wearing a trench coat and boots. And he told me that I was in trouble for slandering his name in my prayers, and that he's the only person that exists, and that hell's the only place that exists. He said atheists are wrong about his existence. That they go to hell when they die, and in hell, you're butt naked, and you stand for eternity, and you get whipped. And people who are torturers were Satanists when they were alive. So in other words, he tortures everyone else but Satanists. Satanists get rewarded by becoming torturers. Um, He told me the rules. Like, I couldn't slander his name in front of him, his demons, or humans. I couldn't criticize his religion in front of him, his demons, or humans. Um, and any sin that I committed, for example, if I lied, if I stole, if I did something that was against what he believes in, that he would beat me up or play a mind game on me or whatever. Um, so I met his demon girls, and we were able to fool around with each other. Like, we made out, we dry humped, all that stuff, and they told me that they were atheists when they died, and that they went straight to hell, and that I was wrong because I was an atheist at the time, and that if I don't change my ways, if I don't convert to Christianity, that I was gonna go to hell. Um, there was one time when I was at work, and I was talking to two demons, and my boss was freaking out. And the next day, I asked her if she remembered it, and she said no. So that should be an indicator that what I was seeing wasn't what I was seeing was just all inside my head. That it was just a delusion, because she would remember she would have remembered something like that. I would, anyone else would, especially if it happened the day before. Um, so so then another time I was living in my apartment, and I got into a fight with Satan, and I felt the physical pain really, really bad. I was crying. When I got to the apartment, I was crying. I cried for about 2 to 3 days. Well, it felt like 2 to 3 days. And but the next when I supposedly woke up, or whatever you want to call it, I did not feel the physical pain at all. Um, the thing about the thing about it is, when his demons beat me up, and bullied me, I did not feel a single physical amount of pain. I did not feel the physical pain at all. They slapped me in the face, they kicked me, they beat me up, and I did not feel the physical pain. I only felt the emotional pain when they were bullying me. That's about it. Most of the demons I saw were girls, and then eventually I ended up seeing some demon guys, um, but mostly girls. Um, and another time, I was laying on the couch, and Satan punched me in the face like 5 or 6 times, and I cried. But when I went to sleep, and when I woke up, I didn't feel the pain. So in other words, I felt the pain in my own little world. I felt the pain, but in reality, I didn't feel the pain at all from the delusion that I had. Um, Satan told me that he's been around since life began, and that he's gonna stand for eternity. He told me that he can see into the future, and he remembers everyone's past, and he can watch people in the present, and he does it all with his mind. Um, the thing is, he told me that he couldn't see, his intelligence was limited, like it's finite, but it's not infinite, but it's a little bit below infinite. Um, he told me that he saw evolution happen, and that he knows it's true, and that we don't get our spirit until after we're born. Um, He told about going back to the future, seeing into the future. I asked him, "Well, you created yourself 2.2 billion years ago, and you can't see that. And if you can't see that far into the future, how did you know that humans would exist?" He couldn't answer that question. Um, he told me that Jesus is mythology and that he doesn't exist, um, and that Catholics are more right because they believe that when you die, you go straight to your destination. Like there was no Armageddon. But then again, if he can't see that far into the future, how does he know that it didn't happen? He also can't see that far into. He can't see far enough into the past to know that the Big Bang happened. Um, his demons were able to read my mind. I asked them to prove they existed, and I'm sorry, exist. And they told me to think about something, so I thought about something, and they were able to tell me what I was thinking about. Um, they also were able to see into the future. They told me about the future, and they told me what I was like, and that I changed and turned my life around, and all that stuff. And at first, I didn't believe it, but now that I'm in the future, everything they told me was true. Like, for example, they told me I would get into trouble with the law. They told me I would be on probation. They told me that I would live with my mom, and then I would go to college and all that stuff. Everything they told me came true. And I saw the future in visions. So when they gave me visions, and I saw into the future. Satan was highly intelligent. I asked him to prove he exists, and he said, "Ask me a question." So I would ask him a question, and he would answer it, and he pretty much knew a lot of stuff. His intelligence was very high. What didn't make any sense about it was he said evolution is true, but at the same time we have a spirit. He said that only hominins have a spirit. No, I'm sorry. He said only Homo sapiens have a spirit. So in other words, the Homo erectus and the previous species didn't have a spirit, but Homo sapiens did. Do. The Neanderthals didn't have a spirit either. The only species that has a spirit is human beings. And I asked him how that was possible, and he said he's not sure how it's possible, but he knows that it is because hell exists and people who die go to hell. He denied the existence of a God. He denied the existence of a heaven. I asked him where my granny went, and he said he didn't know where my granny went. And so I believe that she's in another place, because if she was in hell, he would know it. What else? So what was weird about it was it happened coincidentally. I said a prayer that slandered his name, and the next thing I knew, I was seeing him and experiencing the supernatural. But it doesn't make any sense how it works, and it doesn't make any sense how it's possible for the supernatural to exist if it can't be observed or proven. He said that there's no evidence for his existence, but at the same time he exists. He says something can exist without evidence, but he knows that there is no God because he would have saw him live, especially Jesus Christ and Muhammad. He said those people didn't exist. But he said that his religion is the only true religion, and that people who follow his religion get rewarded in hell by becoming torturers. It was a pretty crazy experience. I didn't know there were delusions until I told my psychologist what I was experiencing, and he said that it was more than likely just delusions that I was having, because a delusion is when you go into your own little world and you see things that don't exist. But as far as seeing into the future goes, it was pretty cool, actually. And they happened to be right. And same thing goes to reading my mind. And I told my stepmom, who's an atheist, and she said I was more than likely experiencing just delusions and hallucinations. She said that it happened to her. She would be very skeptical about it. that she would ask them to prove the supernatural exists. And then she asked me, can you prove they exist? And I said, no. And then she said, they don't exist if you can't prove they exist. And she has a point. I can't prove that the supernatural exists. I could just tell you my story and let you know what happened to me. So my psychologist diagnosed me with schizoaffective disorder, which is a disorder where you have bipolar with delusions and psychosis. And I feel a lot better now that I'm on medication, and I haven't seen them since then. The sad part is that they were in my life for 5 years, so they were a part of my life. And when we parted ways, I ended up crying because I was sad about it. And but now it happened that I moved on with my life about 3 or 4 years ago from them, and I'm so glad they're out of my life. It was hard to see them, but at the same time, it was also fun because I was able to fool around with girls and was able to joke around with Satan and all that. So I'm saying I have mixed feelings about it. Like I said, it didn't make any sense that he's been around for 2.2 billion years. And actually, my prayer said that Satan would come down as a red guy with a bald head and a trench coat and boots, and that's what he looked like. And he also kept changing his appearance. He looked different every time I saw him. And I was supposedly possessed by a demon, but in real possession, you're bedridden and you're sick and all that stuff. I didn't even feel like I was possessed by a demon. I was able to live my life. I just ended up seeing Satan and his demons. Seeing them reading my mind was pretty cool too. The demons didn't have the power to read my mind from hell. They just had the power to see me. You have to be possessed by a demon in order for demons to see you. Satan, on the other hand, is able to read your mind while in hell because he can use his mind to do it. And he was supposedly in an abyss that was completely dark, and he was standing there, and he was natural, and for some miraculous reasons, he ended up becoming supernatural. He couldn't explain how he created himself, and the abyss ended up becoming hell. And what didn't make any sense was that when you die, he makes a tunnel where you go through before you get to hell, and from that tunnel you go to hell and you're butt naked and you already know the rules. I'm gonna say it was all bullcrap. It was just all inside my head. I'm thinking rationally now than I did before, and I think anyone would be skeptical, but at the same time they will be shocked that they were able to see into the future and read their minds. But I haven't seen them since then. I'm taking good medication, and I feel a lot better, and thank you.